Hello and welcome back to the GCP-Mindset channel. Today, we'll talk about how sponsorship as a service boosts medical startups and investigator-initiated trials.
Welcome to the GCP-Mindset channel and all topics on clinical research.
Let us start with understanding sponsorship in clinical research. When we talk about a sponsor in clinical research, most people imagine a big pharmaceutical company providing the money to run a trial. While funding is certainly important, the sponsor's role goes far beyond writing checks. According to good clinical practice guidelines, the sponsor is the individual or organization that assumes ultimate responsibility for 1. Ensuring patient safety throughout the trial. 2. Maintaining regulatory compliance with local and international requirements. 3. Overseeing study protocol adherence. 4. Protecting data, integrity, and quality. In simple terms, if something goes wrong, such as a protocol deviation, a serious adverse event, or regulatory non-compliance, the sponsor is on the hook to address it. This level of oversight and liability requires significant resources, infrastructure, and expertise, often making it challenging for smaller companies and independent investigators to act as a sponsor on their own. Let us explore why sponsorship is more than just paying the bills. A common misconception is that sponsor equals payer. While the sponsor often finances the study, the term sponsor in clinical research is defined more by responsibility than by funding. The sponsor must ensure that every aspect of the trial is conducted under strict regulatory standards. 1. Protocol development and approval. The sponsor either creates or approves the study protocol, ensuring it meets scientific, ethical, and regulatory guidelines. 2. Site selection and oversight. The sponsor must make sure that investigative sites are qualified, have adequate staff, and follow the approved protocol and relevant regulations. 3. Regulatory submissions. When the protocol is finalized, the sponsor submits it to ethics committees, ECs, and competent authorities, CAs. Any questions or objections must be addressed. 4. Safety reporting. It is the sponsor's duty to track and report adverse events and serious adverse events, SAEs, to the appropriate regulatory bodies in a timely manner. 5. Data management and quality. The sponsor ensures that the data collected is accurate, complete, and verifiable. For large pharma or established clinical research organizations, in-house teams and robust quality management systems make this feasible. But for a medical startup with a handful of employees or an investigator at an academic institution without a dedicated legal or regulatory team, this level of responsibility can be overwhelming. Let us delve into the concept of sponsorship as a service. Sponsorship as a service emerged as a solution to help smaller entities shoulder the weight of sponsor responsibilities without having to build an extensive internal infrastructure. In this model, a specialized provider, often a CRO or a dedicated service company, formally acts as the sponsor for the clinical trial. Meanwhile, the medical startup or the investigator retains ownership of the intellectual property and can focus on the scientific aspects of the study. A typical sponsorship as a service arrangement starts with 1. Contractual agreement. You sign a contract with the service provider laying out each party's roles and responsibilities. 2. Regulatory and quality oversight. The service provider uses its own QMS to ensure the trial meets GCP standards. 3. Protocol and operational support. While you, the innovator, control the study's scientific direction, the sponsor service provider may refine the protocol for compliance and take responsibility for official submissions. 4. Risk management. If a regulatory issue arises, the sponsor service provider manages the response, reporting, and corrective actions. 5. Transparent communication. You remain informed of trial progress, but you are not the one directly corresponding with every ethics committee, regulatory agency, or clinical site. Let us examine how this model helps medical startups. 1. Bridging resource gaps. Most startups lack the large legal and regulatory teams needed to run a trial end-to-end. Sponsorship as a service plugs this gap seamlessly. 2. Cost efficiency. Setting up and maintaining a full-blown quality management system can be expensive. Outsourcing sponsor tasks can provide a leaner, more cost-effective approach, especially in early-stage ventures. 3. Faster time to clinic, regulatory complexities often delay trial start dates. A service provider with established processes and relationships with ethics boards and authorities can expedite approvals, letting you start your study sooner. 4. Risk mitigation. A single regulatory misstep can derail a startup. With experts handling compliance, there is a lower chance of costly mistakes or trials being put on hold. 5. Focus on innovation. By handing off sponsor responsibilities, your core team can concentrate on research, product development, and business growth. Now let us consider the special value for investigator-initiated trials. Investigator-initiated trials are often the backbone of academic research, allowing clinicians and researchers to explore innovative uses of existing therapies or develop new treatments independently of large pharma. However, academic settings can bring unique challenges. 1. Limited infrastructure. University or hospital departments might not have a fully fledged clinical research office with robust SOPs or an experienced legal team. 2. Complex approval channels. Institutional review boards or ethics committees can have complex processes, especially for multi-center or international trials. 3. Funding constraints. Grants may provide enough money to run the trial, but not enough to cover extensive regulatory overhead. 4. Legal and administrative bottlenecks. Even if the investigator has the scientific know-how, the institution might hesitate to assume sponsor liability given budget limitations, staffing, or legal concerns. A sponsorship as a service provider essentially acts as a chaperone that ensures the trial adheres to GCP, local regulations, and sponsor responsibilities. This removes a major administrative burden, allowing investigators to maintain focus on the science and patient care aspects of the trial. Additionally, the institution benefits from the reduced liability risk, as the ultimate responsibility rests with the contracted sponsor service provider. Let us look at the key questions before choosing sponsorship as a service. 1. Do you have qualified staff available? If your people are already juggling multiple roles, do they have the capacity to add sponsor tasks to their workload? 2. Does your organization have a comprehensive quality management system? Without a strong QMS, you could struggle to comply with regulatory and GCP requirements. 3. Are you prepared for lengthy internal approvals and legal processes? Investigator-initiated or academic trials can sometimes face months of back and forth with internal legal teams. 4. Do you want to focus on science or on administrative responsibilities? If your primary interest is in scientific innovation or patient care, freeing yourself from sponsor duties might be a more efficient use of time. If you find yourself lacking in any of these areas, outsourcing the sponsor responsibilities can be invaluable. Let us discuss practical steps to get started with sponsorship as a service. 1. Define your study scope. Clarify your objectives, the patient population, endpoints, and overall study design. 2. Identify potential providers. Look for providers with a proven track record in your therapeutic area and check if they have experience dealing with your region's specific regulations. 3. Negotiate the contract. Outline who does what, timelines, deliverables, responsibilities, and financial terms. Make sure ownership of intellectual property and publication rights remain with you. 4. Establish communication channels. Agree on how frequently you'll receive updates and what decisions will need your input or sign-off. 5. Align on regulatory strategy. Ensure the service provider understands all relevant regulations, for example, EU clinical trial regulation, new medical device regulation, local ethics requirements. 6. Monitor and review. While the service provider handles day-to-day sponsor duties, it's wise to periodically review their performance and maintain an overview of how the trial is progressing. Sponsorship as a service can be a lifeline for medical startup companies and investigator-initiated trials. It helps these groups navigate the increasing complexity of clinical trial regulations, ensures patient safety, and upholds data integrity, all while allowing the innovators to focus on research and product development. By outsourcing sponsor responsibilities, you gain access to specialized expertise and proven systems without the overhead of building them in-house. For many smaller entities, that can make the difference between a stalled idea and a successful clinical trial. In conclusion, whether you're a budding biotech firm or an investigator exploring new therapeutic potentials, Don't let regulatory or administrative hurdles stop you from moving forward. Sponsorship as a service ensures that promising treatments and clinical questions don't stay buried under paperwork and risk management. Instead, they can advance efficiently toward improving patient care and driving medical innovation. Thank you for watching our video, and we hope that you found it informative. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more content on clinical research.